What's going on YouTube? Halo here, bringing you another Total War Warhammer 2 online battle. Today we're going to be playing Chaos versus Skaven, so let's dive in. Alright, so for the army compositions, I will be bringing Sarthrel the Everwatcher as my lord today. My front line is going to be made up of 4 units of Chaos Marauders. They're going to be flanked by the Demon Spew Forsaken and a regular unit of Forsaken. The rear of the formation is going to be brought up by Chaos Warriors with Halberds, and at its core, I will be using the Weird Spawn Chaos Spawn. Out on the flanks over here, we're going to have a unit of Chaos Knights and Poison Warhound on each side. They're going to be meant for trying to wrap around and get into any skirmishers we may come up against here. So for the Skaven, really cool build. Mostly cheap infantry. We're going to see a lot of Skaven Slave Spears, some Storm Vermin backing them up out around the flanks here. A really, really nice tiered formation. I really loved this. Didn't love it so much when I had to figure out how to deal with it, but yeah, definitely going for those numbers 1823 to my 853 on the troop counts. So definitely going to be a tough one for me today. But yeah, he's got some gutter runners with poison. He's got a couple units of Skaven Slave Slingers at the core. Backed up by some Rat Ogres. He's got 3 units back here, just kind of reinforcing. His Lord today is going to be Lord Skrulk. He's going to be backed up by a Warlock Engineer. So definitely a unique build, pretty big. Really love the formation he's going for. So let's get going. Okay. So to start, I'm going to be moving my formation up. He deployed more on the back corner, a very wide formation as you can see, so I'm going to kind of reorient, start making my way up. Going to prep my Cav and my Poison Warhounds, get them on each side, kind of start going for a little bit of an envelopment, get them in the flanks there, see if I can find any openings. One thing that I really, really loved about this formation is, again, like the tiered defensive style that I'm seeing here. You've got these Skaven slaves pretty spread out, so there's gaps. So you would think, perfect, I can get my Cav in, right? But because of how this is set up, he's got gaps here, but as soon as you get into his slingers, he's got units ready to back him up from all angles. So it's definitely a tough nut to crack, because once you get in there, it's basically like a snare. You're just going to get all sorts of messed up. You're going to get tarred down in a pit of just all these Skaven bodies. So it's definitely something I was concerned about with my my Cav and my Poison Warhounds. Is trying to get in there and get to those juicy targets without getting caught up and taken down by like Rat Ogres and everything. So my opponent here going to start pushing out. I'm going to keep slowly, gradually pushing in. Going to keep prodding at the sides with my Chaos Knights and my Poison Warhounds. Just going to be looking for those angles. He's got some gutter runners out here. He's got slingers kind of spread out throughout his formation. So doing a really good job keeping everything pretty covered. Shifting about, matching my movements. So we're going to be doing a lot of just kind of back and forth posturing here, looking for the right engagements. So seeing how wide his formation is, I stick to a pretty stiff formation with my Chaos Warriors, keeping a dense core. Don't want to spread out too much and get wrapped up in all different engagements, because what I want to do is try to pick this apart into chunks. So like take a frontline engagement, try and grab a flank over there, try and grab a flank over here. Get little bits, because all of my infantry is going to beat most of his in one-on-one fights. So that's what I'm looking to do, is just get small engagements where I'm going to overpower units individually so that he can't bring this very, very large enveloping force to bear. So you can see here, kind of wrapping around the flanks, spreading out over here. I don't want to engage yet, because that's going to have me against a very wide front line, and it's going to leave me open to envelopment. So I'm just going to kind of back off here, just bide my time, look for a good engagement. Going to keep playing around with my Knights and my Poison Warhounds, just looking for those little angles to get in behind him, to get into those slingers. And I'm just going to keep shifting. So he's going to get a really nice spell off here. He's going to take down 8 Chaos Knights with that one. It's a pretty good blow. It's something I definitely didn't want happening. Those guys are going to be very important to me in the end game. But yeah, going to keep shifting over. He starts to kind of flatten out his front line, and I don't want to take this engagement, because that's going to really draw my forces out thin, and he's going to be able to get those enveloping flanks. So I'm starting to shift over, and I see that he kind of extends his forces a little more over here, and he's pushing up. So I'm just going to kind of shift, isolate these guys, get him while he's out of place with all these forces back here, and he's going to be pushing up with a couple units instead of his whole line. So I'm just going to kind of keep toying around, let him get out of position, just kind of take advantage, just keep goading him out with my flanking forces. Just keep stretching it and stretching it. And you can see his formation's gradually getting a little more lined up, a little more broken up on the flanks. It's going to give me opportunities here. So I'm going to start pushing in with my forces and just kind of bog him down with my marauders. So I'm going to get in here, tie up some Skaven slaves, get into these storm vermin. He's going to catch my marauders on the flank, but I'm going to push my demon spew in, and they're going to be pretty well in that fight. I see that he's got rat ogres coming in, so I'm bringing my knights over, just looking for those opportunities to get in there. He's going to get a really nice lightning down. Yeah, it's a solid hit on the demon spew, taking out 6 of the models. Pretty rough shot for me, but I'm trying to get my warhounds in here, and he ends up getting his Skaven slaves and catching that movement. So I'm just going to take that engagement, going to get my weird spawn into those storm vermin and drop that armor. My marauders get caught up here in some rat ogres. I'm going to take a charge here. It's not the best engagement for my chaos knights, but I need to get my halberds into position, and that's the only way I'm going to do it, is if I can bog them down long enough for those slow guys to get in there and start doing some work with their anti-large. So I get the charge in, I've got those guys tied up, I'm pulling them out, get my halberds in. He's got a nice little flank over here with the Skaven slave spears, but again, my chaos knights just hitting the flanks, tying stuff up, really high armored units, so they're going to do surprisingly well against like spear units and these storm vermin. Very durable. So they're just going to keep harassing these flanks and keeping stuff drawn out over here so that my core can be taking these individual unit engagements one at a time, and I can just overwhelm his forces. So yeah, Chaos Knights out here and these Skaven Slave Slingers going to force him to dedicate some of his cheaper infantry that would normally overwhelm me to the outskirts. So you can see Chaos Warhounds with poison, having to keep some halberds over here just to defend his slingers and ward all this off. That's very important because I'm subverting some of those resources that are going to be tough for me to deal with and picking stuff apart individually. So yeah, you see like Sartharel and the Warhounds getting into some Storm Vermin, my Marauders doing quick work on some Skaven Slave Spears, chasing stuff around on the outskirts with some Chaos Knights, get the Forsaken in. I'm getting little piecemeal engagements that are working very well for me. Unfortunately here, my opponent taking an opportunity to get his Rad Ogres in, while my Halberds are pretty spread out. So I'm going to try drawing back those guys, get my Warhounds out of the engagements here, try and keep them safe because I need them to kind of kite around. My Chaos Knights out here still doing work hitting the outskirts, but my opponent, he gets in this engagement with Skrolk and his Warlock Engineer. I'm able to isolate them because I chewed through the rest of the cheap infantry here, and I'm going to be dropping some spells in here. I'm going to be rocking the Transmutation of Lead, going to drop melee attack and weapon damage. So you're going to see in here, Lord Skrolk is only hitting on 31 melee attack, Warlock Engineer has 0, those Rad Ogres getting dropped to 0, so his units that are in this engagement not able to land any hits, and that's going to give me the opportunity to tear through them, taking minimal damage. So a really good engagement for me there, and you can see out here, a lot of his army, his very large army, is getting caught out and isolated, while I'm taking down the core little chunks at a time. So, I got some units routing over here. It's still a tough fight. Skrolk is tanky. He's kicking it with Sartharel here, just trying to trade some blows, summoning some clan rats to back him up, get that number superiority, but Skrolk is kind of getting chipped away. Sartharel extremely difficult to take out. 60% missile resistance, 25% on the magic, drop standard eye. That's going to work because you pair that right up after Transmutation of Lead. You're dropping their melee attack so they're never hitting you, and then you're going to pop Standard Eye, and that's going to give your units really high melee defense. So Sartharel going up to 67 when he's normally 40 here, and it's just going to make your units extremely durable where normally they'd be taking those blows. So my opponent here trying to deal with my Chaos Knights and my external units that are just kind of kiting around, getting into his soft stuff. I'm going to keep bringing my forces back and maintain this center core, because now I'm forcing him to pick engagements. Does he dedicate units into this tough nut and keep taking rear charges, keep getting isolated on the outside, or does he force his units to the rear and try and deal with these little nitpicking Chaos Knight units, the Warhounds, some Marauders? But my opponent here going to just start kind of going all in because he sees that his Lord is in trouble, which is probably a really smart move. But I'm going to get my Warhounds, tie up some Slingers. He's going to overwhelm these Chaos Marauders, but I have a lot of Halberds left over, and his Rat Ogres just don't have enough health, and they're going to get terror routed by Sartharel. So these weird spawn doing great work too. I'm going to keep them paired up with my Demon Spew and Sarthrel, going after really important targets, trying to hit Storm Vermin, try and keep them away from the Halberds though, because we don't want them to take that damage. So I force my Marauders in to take that charge, and I'm going to push my weird spawn in to deal with these Storm Vermin with Sword and Shield. So I'm taking the better engagement here, clogging up those Storm Vermin with Halberds, take less damage, try and preserve them because of their armor sundering. But yeah, Sarthrel just bullying Skrulk, so he's basically out of the fight at this point. There's nothing he can do with it. Sarthrel's large mass is just going to keep pushing him around. And my opponent here, his forces are just so spread out at this point from being constantly pushed off the battlefield and bullied by the Chaos Knights, that there's just really no way he can get into an engagement with all of these units at the core and overwhelm it. But he's definitely doing a great job putting his effort in here. Gutter Runners trying to get in and support these Storm Vermin, a really important unit for him. The Weird Spawners are going to start getting into these fights. Just keep charging in. I'm going to try and isolate Skrulk some more, but he's pushing his way back towards his units with that Encourage. Summon some Clan Rats in to try and keep him safe, give him some room to move. Tried to get a cheeky little Searing Doom, but he was paying attention, got his Skaven Slaves out of the way. But yeah, stuff's going to start breaking due to army losses, and the balance of power is really tipping in my favor. And then yeah, army losses are just going to start shattering everything when Skrulk routs. So yeah, really, really good match. Really loved the formations that my opponent was going for there, with the real widespread like snare setup, trying to like bait you in. A really good system for supporting his units. But I was just able to kind of pick my engagement well and just kind of spread his army out enough that it wasn't able to support that front line. And then my dense core with my Chaos Infantry was just able to crush anything that came against it piecemeal. So yeah, awesome match. Thank you very much to my opponent. wickD, great match. Can't wait to have some more with you. But yeah, let's look at the kills here. 853 deployed, 486 losses, 1823, 1111. I was definitely very overwhelmed, and at the beginning of the match, that was a really big concern. That's one reason I knew I've got to keep a dense formation. Hopefully he goes wide, and we'll see if we can get that isolated, because otherwise he's just going to overwhelm me and surround me, and my morale's really going to suffer as far as like these Marauders go and Warhounds, things like that. They're really going to struggle because their low leadership is going to kick in. So had to really be careful picking these engagements. Sarthrel getting 46 kills. Marauders really holding up well, 24, 95, 23, 64. A great unit if you're going against cheap infantry. Not the best against vampires because the leadership is going to be a problem, but against Skaven, you're really going to trade well with Skaven slaves like Clan Rats. Forsaken, not always the best pick to take. They can be okay against like vampires or maybe Tomb Kings. Usually best if you want to use them to flank and get around a unit or go after skirmishers, but in the Skaven matchup, again, they're going to do great against the cheap infantry. And they're going to do okay against like Storm Vermin with Halberds, as long as you can debuff the Halberds. They do have very high armor, I believe 70 or 75, and then their melee damage is extremely high as well. So you can see 135 there, 102 on the Demon Spew, their poison effect being really, really useful to go into like Storm Vermin, drop their melee attack, make them less effective. Chaos Warriors with Halberds 55 and 49 doing great work securing my lines, protecting Sarthrel and my core from all these Rat Ogres, just kind of keeping them safe, boxing those guys out, doing some really good damage. Weird Spawn 180 kills, anti-infantry, unbreakable, and armor sundering. Awesome unit. If you need a support unit to like try and go after lords or go after large targets, really important things, Weird Spawn are awesome. They will not rout. They will literally die to the last man. And with armor sundering, you're dropping it by 30, especially if you're bringing a Laura Metal, you're going to have Plague of Rust. That's minus 60 armor. A lot of the times, your target is just going to end up with no armor after that, and if it's a really expensive unit, you're going to be dropping it to where like your cheaper infantry is going to be doing some really good work. And that's going to definitely benefit you in the long run. You're going to be gaining a lot of like value out of that trade. So Chaos Knights, another really good pick against the Skaven. Warp Lightning Cannons could be a problem, but as long as you have Warhounds that can kind of just bob and weave in there, which is why I brought them, you're gonna be okay. 144 kills, getting 2 chevrons, 137. Really great for just keeping them busy in the back lines. They have to dedicate resources to trying to take them down. And with their, I believe it's 120 armor with shields, And then 50 melee defense, they're going to be stupid sturdy against anything besides like a Helpet Abomination, Warp Lightning Cannons. Rat Ogres will do decent at stopping them because of their high mass, and they aren't anti-large, they're anti-infantry. But yeah, they're a really great pick against Skaven. You'll really mulch a lot of the infantry that they have to offer. So yeah, Warhound's getting into some of the slingers, supporting these Chaos Knights, and then getting into some engagements to protect my infantry by poisoning the enemies and dropping their melee attack to basically nothing. So yeah, all around a pretty good build. I like my opponent's setup here. A little more on the unorthodox side with like all the slingers, all the cheap infantry. The formation he went for though, I totally get it, and it was really really cool to see. I really liked the concept. Um, but yeah, awesome match. Thank you very much, wickD. I can't wait to play some more with you so I can get some more really really good videos with some awesome matchups. Uh, Everyone else, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell button for some notifications. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see. Is there any build that you want me to check out for you guys? Is there a faction that you want me to try learning or playing? Just hit me up down below. Thank you very much. Have a great day.